There's been a flurry of UFO sightings over Ukraine since the beginning of the war. They've appeared as single craft during daytime and fleets at night over Kyiv, Odessa, Kharkiv, and over the battlefield. The Ukraine National Academy of Science is looking into it, and so is Avi Loeb of Project Galileo. Let's explore. Hi everyone, and welcome to Project Bluebook, where we explore all things unidentified. I am Thor, and thanks for tuning in. According to a recent preprint publication released by Kyiv's main astronomical observatory, NAS, in collaboration with the Ukraine National Academy of Science, scientists are looking to the skies over Ukraine, seeing numerous unidentified aerial phenomena over the capital, as well as over Odessa, Kharkiv, Kharostan, and Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Granted, there are many things flying through the air in Ukraine right now. HIMARS-launched short-range missiles, surface-to-air missiles and ammunition of all types, as well as drones, Western and Iranian. It would be easy to get confused, so the local science academy and observatory banded together with Dr. Avi Loeb of Project Galileo to look into it, a Harvard professor emeritus, and the authority on the interstellar visitor named Oumuamua, the cigar-shaped asteroid that visited our solar system in a controlled speed trajectory back in 2017, which he suggested might be intelligently controlled. Regarding UFOs over Kyiv, the US government pitched in, encouraging Dr. Loeb to put out a paper on the topic, which he did, published on October 5th, 2022, titled Down-to-Earth Limits of Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. Dr. Loeb calls it a draft version. In the paper, he supports the initial findings and identification system created by the Ukraine National Academy of Science, classifying the UFOs as dark phantom objects of the size of 3 to 12 meters in length, seen during daytime and not emitting any light from within. They're moving at a speed of circa 15 kilometers per second, too fast to detect under normal circumstances, especially without optical emission, and at a distance of 10 to 15 kilometers. Dr. Loeb suggests that the distance is overestimated by an order of a magnitude, that they were much smaller and much closer, or else, quote, their bow shock in the Earth's atmosphere would have generated a bright fireball with an easily detectable optical luminosity, end quote. In other words, the friction with the atmosphere at such a speed and size distance would have created a sheer friction light event alone. But then he adds, if intelligently made technology, it would exceed the capabilities of human technology aircraft, or missiles, or rockets. But it still leaves a window for the possibility of artillery, if mistaken for further distance larger objects by an order of a magnitude, rather than shorter distance smaller objects, artillery. They have mostly been detected by cameras and smartphones, and less by the naked eye. The observed objects were recorded on cameras at two key locations in and around Kyiv. The main astronomical observatory at Main within Kyiv proper, and at the secondary observatory in the village of Vinarivka, 75 miles south of Kyiv. The observed results of same objects are consistent between the two, and I don't have to stress how rare and important it is for a National Science Academy to openly conduct observation, research, and dialogue on this subject. Other images and observations we're discussing here today and showing images of were made by hundreds of eyewitnesses in and around Kyiv, in Odessa, and in the Kharkiv and Zaporizhzhia regions, dating between February and October of 2022. Dr. Loeb does not observe an object flying over Kyiv and coming to a standstill after several altitude maneuvers, estimated between 3,000 and 5,000 feet, or the cigar-shaped object in slow flight above Kharkiv. And regardless of where we land on the Loeb draft paper on the limited observations of the phantom-type objects alone, I tend to operate on the 95 versus 5% rule, assuming the vast majority of witnessed UFOs are identifiable and explainable, leaving 5% as genuine UFO cases. In the words of late Stanton Friedman, UFO debunkers must be right 100% of the time, whereas those who attest to the reality of UFOs as technology originating from non-human intelligence need only be right once, which would be a fraction of 1%. That is what makes them real. Dr. Loeb focused on the phantom objects during daytime alone and did not pass judgment on all daytime sightings at all. He took a slice of photographs known to the Academy and made observations based on physics and known science. The main astronomical observatory's scientific council, located in Kyiv, has pointed out that the Loeb draft paper has not been peer-reviewed and that it observed only test data provided by the Academy and not the entirety of available images and footage we're sharing here today. In other words, the data on which Dr. Loeb bases his findings was limited. The MAO Scientific Council further states that the paper does not pair to actual images it observed and examined, and is therefore unscientific in method, as it cannot be peer-studied with scientifically established controlled data methods. The research shared by Ukrainian astronomers divided sightings into two categories: cosmic and phantom. The cosmic ones were mostly seen during nighttime, some during daytime, all emitting light source from within. These UFO-UAP light sources were seen over the capital of Kyiv, over the cities of Kharkiv and Odessa, as well as the nuclear power plant at Zaporizhzhia. The cosmic objects are luminous, brighter than their background of the sky, whether at dawn, dusk, or during nighttime, and they also observed that the objects are so fast that it has proven hard to capture them on video or photograph. I have searched for better quality footage than presented here today, and I am yet to find it. It becomes part of the story, for now. The range of types is broad as well, from identifiable structural UFOs showing detail of light portals, top, bottom, and sides, reflecting light differently when captured during daytime, and emitting orbital and luminescent lights during night, traveling as single objects or in a fleet formation. Some are observed as triangle-shaped or as three lights flying in a triangle formation. Some are of distinct cigar shape and too thick to be mistaken for artillery. The UFO shapes are consistent with observations made by thousands of eyewitnesses in 100 countries spanning decades of time. The collection of available UFO data supports the sightings in Ukraine as consistent with the known lexicon of UFO sightings. As to the interest in Ukraine specifically right now, this should not come as a surprise. We know from multitude of encounters, communication and whistleblower testimony that the Ebens have serious concerns over our use and lack of knowledge of nuclear power and nuclear weaponry, evident also by the repeated interference with missile silos, such as at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, interference with intercontinental ballistic missiles test flights capable of carrying nuclear weapons across the planet, and the observed presence and emissions of a green substance during nuclear testing, in particular over Nevada in the 1960s and 70s. We are living through times where the prospect of the use of a nuclear weapon in conflict is perhaps higher than it was during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the highest that it has ever been. And knowing the multiple species concern for the protection of Earth's ecosystem, and that it does not belong to us alone and is not ours to jeopardize, I would not rule out, if push comes to shove, an alien intervention. You can watch and listen to this and other podcasts on Project Bluebook, where we explore all things unidentified. Each day, let's practice compassion and kindness. And please subscribe. I am Thor, and thanks for listening. See you next time.